What happens when you reach high engagement levels? A lot of people who are getting on Twitter measure their success based on three things. One, according to one school, you measure your success based on how much raw traffic you can pull from Twitter. Ultimately, this is the right answer because, at the end of the day, you need traffic to get conversions. There's no way around this fact. You can talk a big game about branding. You can talk a good game about becoming an authority. This is all well and good, but until and unless they translate to real traffic, you're not going to make money. You have to get real visitors to make money on the internet. But using this metric as your sole metric is going to be a problem. Why? Normally, you have to build a very high level of engagement and high level of authority for you to get a sizable volume of direct traffic from Twitter. The good news is that the traffic that you do tend to get would be qualified traffic. These are people who are not curiosity seekers. These are people who have nothing else better to do than to click random links. These are usually people who are interested in whatever it is you are saying, and by extension, whatever it is you are promoting. Another way to measure success on Twitter is the number of retweets you get. Again, this is good because it ultimately leads to traffic. However, in itself, it doesn't really lead to much. The same applies to people clicking the heart button that they like your stuff. They favorite your stuff. That is all good. It definitely is a great boost to the ego. But until it translates to traffic, it's really not worth much. Here's my answer. The obvious answer, of course, is traffic. But before we get to traffic, focus on engagement level. Try to get your engagement levels up. This means people are paying attention. This means people view you as an actual credible and authoritative expert. This means influence. If you have high engagement levels, a lot of things open up for you. These are tremendous opportunities that can take your business to the next level. First, you can pitch influential Twitter accounts for guest posts. If you get a lot of engagement from their accounts and then they're constantly retweeting you and constantly clicking the heart icon, and it means that they become your fans, this is an indication that there is an actual organic community that grew up around your content. This is a good thing, but just by itself, it doesn't really mean much. You have to convert it. You have to transform it into a usable form in one of the most useful forms of this. Usual payouts of this level of influence with influencers are to pitch them for guest posts. Now, of course, this means that they have to have a blog that's credible and has great SEO value in their niche. But assuming that's true, pitch them for guest posts. Don't be shy. It doesn't hurt to ask if they say no the first time. Continue to engage with them. Be a buddy. Challenge them. Test them. Earn their respect some more, and then pitch them again. Keep pitching until you get that guest post. Because sometimes you have to knock many times before the door opens. That's just the way things are. Keep pitching because for every single guest post you get, you may get a nice boost in Google search results. You probably don't need me to explain to you why that's a good thing. Ask for interviews. There are many influential people on Twitter that are either top dogs in organizations in your niche or they know people. Either way, when you get interviewed for a variety of reasons, you have arrived in your niche. Let's put it this way. They're not going to interview worthless people. They're not going to interview people who have no credibility. Why? Well, they respect their own credibility. They want to protect whatever status they have. One of the worst ways to do that is to interview people with no credibility. They want to build up. So, the fact that they're interviewing you signals to whoever respects them that you are worthy of respect. It signals to people that you are credible, that you are worth following. It tells people in so many ways what you have to say counts for something. This is a big deal. How come? You can leverage this interview that you've got as proof of your expert status. You can then contact influential publications in your niche to get backlinks. You can contact the networking groups, symposiums, and conventions to get speaking opportunities. You can always point to the fact that you got interviewed by these highly credible places. Another advantage you can get when you put in the time to manually engage with truly influential people involves blogging roundtables. Blogging roundtables are basically group interviews. The person holding the roundtable would come up with a general topic. For example, they're talking about general SEO trends in 2018, and then hit up a large number of people for their interviews, knowing full well only a small fraction would respond. If you get invited to turn in your feedback, you get a nice link. Imagine if the Blogger Roundtable was being held on the premier website in your niche. Again, it doesn't take a genius to figure out the dynamite SEO potential of this opportunity. Build a high-influence retweet circle. This final benefit escapes a lot of marketers. In fact, even Twitter marketers may be completely blind to this. This is one of the biggest benefits of manual engagement with influential people on Twitter can ever deliver. When you get these people to think that you are credible and that you are an expert in your own right. Eventually, you can count on some of them to automatically retweet your stuff. This is a big deal. Well, when you share your own content, or better yet, when you share your squeeze page direct link, you want truly interested people to click through. You want people who understand what your content is about to click through and possibly convert. In other words, you want highly qualified traffic. If your brand becomes so trusted and so credible in your niche among other Twitter users, you cultivate such a following. You only need to produce content and automatically you know they would retweet you. You can almost bet that a certain percentage of your followers would retweet. This can then lead to your content being seen by more of their followers, which can lead to highly qualified direct traffic. Don't neglect this benefit. Unfortunately, a lot of people do because this benefit grows very slowly. It also starts at a very low level. But of all the benefits, this is probably the most potent. Unfortunately, it also takes the most time, effort, and attention to detail. However, if you properly cultivate this, the direct traffic benefits and conversions you would get from being a part of a retweet circle will outweigh and will pay for all your costs. You can take this to the bank. Always optimize your content. It's really important to make sure that you identify your best performing content. This is not easy to do with Twitter. You basically have to pay attention to your website statistics and figure out which content update gets the most love from your followers. Once you have identified your best performing content, don't stop there. Don't just think that you're just going to have to come up with the exact same content. That's not going to cut it. Also, don't think that you only need to give your system a few days for you to identify your winning content. Here's the system that I use. Regardless of whether you are completely automating your system or you're manually doing engagements, you need to do the following as far as content optimization goes on Twitter. Step 1. Start with randomly selected content. Now, please understand that this content must be top content. Look at the reverse engineering section that I mentioned earlier in this training. You should know how to spot objectively good content. Once you're able to do that, create a massive list of all that type of content and then randomly select this content and publish it on your Twitter feed. Again, you can use Hootsuite or Social Oomph or some other content scheduling software. Let this piece of content run until a few weeks pass. Step 2. Review your results. If you give the system enough time to tweet and keep republishing stuff that you have tweeted before, certain patterns should emerge. With enough time, you will get rid of false positives. These are content types or themes that you think are winners. It turns out that they're statistical flukes. Their success, statistically speaking, is just coincidental. With a few weeks, however, of running time, you should get a clear understanding of which of your content are real winners. Step 3. Focus on what works. At this stage, you should have a clear understanding of what truly works. These tweets are no joke. If you tweet this type of content, you can rest assured you will get quite a bit of engagement and click-through from your Twitter feed. You need to create more of this type of content. If you don't have the time or resources to do that, you should find other third-party content that is just like your winning content. Focus on what works. Scale it up. Pair it with your squeeze page tweets. Pair it with your content that leads to ads or other conversion devices on your website. Whatever the case may be, you need to focus on what works and scale up once you've identified reliably productive content. Again, this takes time. This is not something that you identify overnight. You have to let the patterns play out. You need to let the statistical flow of your traffic even out over a long enough period of time. If you do this right, you will be able to shift your Twitter feed towards content that has a predictable level of engagement. This paves the way for the success of your Twitter campaign. Cross-feed your content among platforms. If you notice that you have winning content on Twitter, don't just leave it at Twitter. There's a good chance that people on other platforms would appreciate that same content. Take that content and share it on Pinterest or Instagram. If you are sharing third-party videos and they do really well on Twitter, share them on your YouTube channel. Whatever the case may be, cross-feed or cross-pollinate your content among different social media platforms. There's a lot to choose from. There's Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, and Quora, among many others. Mix and match. Pick your very best content. Try along different platforms and identify what works. Once you identify that a particular type of content that you tweet also does well on another platform, publish more of that stuff. Scale it up. Leverage the power of questions. One of the best ways to publish content on Twitter is to ask questions. It's really that simple. You ask a question and then you post a link and then some hashtags. The great thing about this question-based tweeting is you get to engage the reader. You focus on a specific point that they may be interested in. If they are, you're more likely to get the click. This is definitely more engaging because you start with a specific need that they have. You're not just wasting people's time by saying, hey, this might be interesting. Who cares? There's tons of interesting stuff on Twitter. People simply do not have the time to consume all that information. One of the best descriptions I have read about Twitter is that it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. There's just so much information to process in a very short period of time. This is why most people who consume a lot of social media content don't bother to read. They really don't. They don't have that luxury. Instead, they scan by tweeting in the form of questions followed up by a link and some hashtags. You take advantage of this fact, people only need to see the right question and then you have yourself a click. It fits how people think about and process information on Twitter. Interestingly enough, a lot of marketing professionals are saying that this also creates some sort of SEO signal. This is a big deal because it can give you a search engine optimization benefit. Now please understand that this benefit is very marginal. In fact, spokespeople for Google have spoken up on this issue. For the most part, they said this type of social signal isn't really factored in by Google. However, a lot of professional search engine optimization consultants say that there is an indirect or circumstantial benefit. Whatever the truth may be, we could all agree that if there is a signal that is being factored in by Google, it's going to be a very weak factor. Still, it is a factor. So you raise the question-based format. Use your questions for Quora. Not only do you get to engage your Twitter followers more directly by using questions, you can recycle this resource by posting it on Quora. You're killing two birds with one stone. You are posing a question on Twitter, and then it's copying and pasting that question and posting it on Quora and then posting an answer, or you can look for a similar question that already exists on Quora and answer with basically the link that you are promoting through Twitter. You save on time. You definitely save on effort.